The Flying Scotsman had come to the island of Sodor. A sea of enthusiasts and tourists from all over the mainland were gathered excitedly around all the engines. The engines were excited to see the crowds of people who had come just for them. James especially naturally adored the attention and the allowance of showing off his red paint. He felt like the king of the railway with so many people fancying him. Scott took notice of this.
They're a gift tourists, James said in the sheds that evening. They always have the greatest admiration for us engines.
Says you, said Oliver. You're only glad you can have something to gloat your paint off to.
As if I want to say that. Him and his gloating can keep me up at night, and one mustn't let it go to their smoke box.
That's rich.
And besides, the amount at which you were today, James, said Scott, well, was concerning. Realize this. If you were to strip away the whole of your renown, you're merely just another engine. Same with me. And do you not want to know something? I'd love to try and take a goods train sometime. The engines were surprised, Gordon especially. Do you mean that, Scott? But you're a... Oh, please, Duck. I'm a museum piece at my status, and besides, I don't fancy the fact that I'm the one who causes envy in others. Have you seen Henry and that big orange fellow taking those long goods trains? I simply just pull coaches from here to there, and from there to here. And besides, the coaches on the mainland just get too big for their own buffers, and it's virtually insufferable. But you went 100 miles per hour. Sure I did, Doc. City of Truro did too, before me. But you went faster than him by a measly 5 kilometers, little brother. And besides, I'm not the only one who can go 100 miles per hour. Green Arrow, Duchess of Hamilton, all the A4s. I don't think you understand the aerodynamics with which those chaps are built. It's incredible innovation. Even if some are rather puffed up, but it doesn't alleviate any sort of admiration I have for them. Do you not like Enthusiast then? James asked.
I really enjoy the youthful ones who appreciate us for look's sake, albeit the adults, the more mature ones, are surprisingly the handful. Always getting too close for the right picture, or seeing an engine pass by. Remember, you lot, there's a difference between fascination and obsession.
Oh, but who wouldn't obsess over my lovely red?
Who would is the real question, muttered Gordon. But James took no notice. He had already fallen asleep. The other engines just rolled their eyes. But Scott couldn't help but feel concerned. Oi, Stu. By chance, are you still wondering about that one lad with his son? What lad? We saw a lot of lads today. It's hard to point out just one, Alf. You know the one I'm talking about. It's amazing that I get to meet James's crew finally. Richard Lawrence, a pleasure to meet you. The pleasure is yours. But there are lots of fans that enjoy him. Well, I'm his number one by far. We get that a lot. Well, it's true. And my son is too. In fact, today is his birthday today. Isn't that right? Oh, well, happy birthday. And what I think will be such a treat was if we were able to climb into his cab. My God, isn't he beautiful? Well, you are the first person to ever convince us for an up-close and personal look at our James. What says you give me a chance to drive him? You could teach me. I'll do it, of course, for me boy. He'd love a ride in an engine. Right? I'm afraid I can't do that, sir. I could give you £30, sir. Oh, £50, sir, please. £100, even if it's just around the yard. Mr. Lawrence, I can't do that. It's against rail protocol. I appreciate that you are very enthusiastic about our engine, but I can't let you drive him, or a reed right now. It wouldn't be fair for anyone. Please. You're right. Perfectly. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. It is nice seeing him in person. What is the matter with you? You can't speak up just for this one chance. What I'd do to have that sweet James in my hands and let myself drive. If I can't drive him, no one can. I guess he seems rather peculiar. I must have blocked him out my mind. Well, that's putting it lightly. See you tomorrow then. Right. You need to, right, Alf. Morning. How are you, Stu? I'm great, actually. I think today's going to be a good day. Officer, what's going on? You alright, Tom? I'm fine, just shut up. We are firm to believe that there is a dangerous substance contained in a package Mr. Tipper here is transporting. Rubbish! What you take Tom for? Yes, sir, there must be a mistake. Tom wouldn't do anything like that. Aye, sir, I only deliver the packages. I never open them. At least not on my own will. Why would you suspect a mere postman? I don't find him suspect. I do find suspect the fact that he had that package. Well, what does it contain? Specialist units are about to find that out right now.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, please clear the area. Step back. Step back. Right, give it a few. Stand by.
Sulfuric acid. Whoever had this delivered wanted to scald their victim, skin them alive even. Officer, may I check the address on the package? Do you know who it's being delivered to? Perhaps? Campbell! Package! Well? Alf. It's to your address. At the sheds, James had been waiting impatiently. Where on Soldor is my driver? I'm gonna miss my train. I'm gonna be late.
Oh, please, James, yawned Duck. It's only 8:30. The passengers don't need their vision ruined in the morning.
Oh yes, Duck, that's why you're still in the shed and my driver's not here. He scowled. Eventually, his driver did come. He was shaken up, but James wasn't at all concerned. Where have you been? He snarled. I'm gonna miss my passenger train. There were police blocking the roads, James. Do I care? Come on, my fire's been lit for an hour and a half. Let's go, the passengers will wait, he demanded. The driver and fireman only sighed. However, their incident did not go unnoticed. Oi, Bill. Did you hear about what happened with Tom Tipper? No. What's happened? Was he hurt? Said Percy.
Oh no, the idea, Percy. I mean, you were one just thinking about that. He's perfectly fine. Apparently, the package had been fashioned with a monosulfuric acid.
My word, who on earth would send such a thing as that? I even have the idea of making it. Well, you know as much as I do. Who do you suppose the package was supposed to be delivered to?
James had just pulled in to kill Dan. His curiosity was about to get the better of him. Who'd you think? Came a voice inside his cab. James's driver stepped out and was not happy. James was confused at first, until he looked deeper into the event. Both he and his driver were red in the face now. Fergus and Murdoch could only look on in awkward silence.
I suppose your driver's got a fan, James,
Fergus said, meekly. His driver stepped down and walked crossly to his car. The fireman was walking behind. Alf, come on, he didn't know. Though then again, you were too stubborn to listen. James, is that what it's like to be famous? If so, I don't think I'd like being called it. James didn't reply. He was too mortified. The next morning, James was awakened by the Fat Controller walking up to him. Sir?
Good morning, James. I apologize for waking you up this early, but something happened to your driver.
James's heart sank.
What do you mean, sir?
We all go a little mad sometimes, eh, Stu? Right, you're pissed. Now will you keep your voice down? I'm just stating the facts, no? The fact is that I'm glad you didn't drive. Can I help you, mate? You alright, Alf? I'm fine. But that bastard ruining me car. James was flustered and horrified. The other engines had been listening, and they too were unsettled. They said nothing for James's sake. They knew he was under a lot of pressure. Your driver's all right, but you'll have to stay in the shed for now. I don't know who else can do your slow goods for you. Gordon has the express, Henry has his work, Bear has the limited.
Sir, Scott proclaimed, may I take it?
The engines were shocked, Gordon especially. The Fat Controller was speechless.
Is that okay with you, Scott?
Scott laughed.
Of course, sir. Why wouldn't it be? I am still an engine after all. If that's what you so desire, you can take a slow goods then,
said the Fat Controller, still lost for words. Jolly well, sir. I won't disappoint you, he declared, heartily. Scott arrived at the yards, and the trucks were in high spirits.
Look here, boys. We've got a true celebrity pulling us, said one.
Please, just treat me as if I was one of the engines, said Scott, not wanting to draw any attention. Scott set off with his goods, heading down the line. An Enthusiast was above the bridge as he passed by. He scowled at the sight.
What on earth are you doing, Scott? You're a pride of the rails, not a dirty goods engine.
Scott had returned from his slow goods. He saw James alone in the shed. He looked small, distant from everyone. Scott wanted to help him.
Is there anything I can do for you, James? Just leave me alone.
I can do that for you, Scott assented. Gordon puffed into his berth.
Well, he certainly looks like he's been washed up. He gets too big for his buffers, and now he witnesses downfall.
Scott shot a glare at his brother.
What says you, Gordon? Was it worth it to lose your dome over a record that wasn't even yours? That wasn't my fault. Maybe, but you were still careless enough to be rocketing on that line at high speeds. And all because you thought yourself as lower than another engine who went 100 miles per hour when we were built for it. That's not your concern why I was jealous. What is that supposed to mean? And besides, anyone with common sense can clearly see why you did it. You two are about as equally famous as he is. There are books, television shows, merchandise surrounding you two. Keep in mind, those books are about your mishaps, so people publicly know about your mistakes. Right, if you're going to use my own experience against me, you didn't give me a choice, Gordon. You want to know the worst thing about being famous? It's the fact that even if you make a mistake, there will be people and fans who will be so charmed by your status that they'll see you as perfect. And people destroy their own lives over that allure. You have the Express, you have your controller, you have this ravishing island. Do not think that you are famous just because an author decided to put your name in his book.
Gordon was still indignant. Scott didn't have enough energy to maintain the argument, and James couldn't have helped but to listen. That night, all the engines were asleep. The wind moaned outside. James was uneasy in his sleep. He had his eyes closed, but he couldn't doze. He heard something, though. It sounded like footsteps. Before long, he could feel his fire begin to start up. James was confused.
What on Stop, what are you doing?
But the voice that came wasn't his driver.
You're mine now, Red.
James froze. Someone was in his cab. Before he realized it, his wheels had already begun to move. He was so frightened that he couldn't say anything. He moved off the turntable and was now on the line. His speed began picking up and he accelerated down the line. James was terrified. When he saw the big station, he finally found his voice.
Help! Help!
No.
Driving nuge and covered in red paint. Who does he think he is, shaking one of my engines like that?
Sir, be glad this bloke from Leeds wasn't driving Scotsman, or else you'd be in for a rude awakening from the British Parliament. I think you'd have better listen to me with this. What do you mean? We found many items worth of evidence. We found the paint buckets, a large kettle in his motel room, and what, pray tell, would he need that for? Well, in this unfortunate case, sulfuric acid is quite easy to make. All it requires, in his case, was water and potassium metabisulfite, and breweries are known for using such a chemical for it. Local pubs, precisely. And we of course identified Mr. Lawrence as the one who assaulted the engine's driver, Alfred Irving, and vandalized his vehicle. The boy was found bound and gagged in the shower. He didn't want him to infiltrate, I suppose. But that's not the most disturbing thing. Do I want to hear it? For closure's sake, but I wouldn't blame you for not wanting to. By his bed, we found a stack of books and VHSs all surrounding James. And on top of it all were many tissues stuck together. And you suppose you wish I wouldn't want to think too hard about it, Topham. Some people, they just take things way too far. James had been brought back to the sheds. He was shaken up. Even if he was a little too big for his buffers over the past few days, the engine still felt bad for him.
I don't understand what I could have done to make him do this,
James mumbled. It's not your fault what he did, James, consoled Duck.
I've been humiliated, Duck. What am I supposed to do?
He said in his chagrin. Just because you were taken out on a joyride by some crazed vandal does not mean you are to blame, Scott declared. Sure, your personality may weigh you down sometimes, but you mustn't take this to mind. But do remember this, James. Fame in vain can turn into one's greatest shame. James could only silently agree.